Now I know you'll be dying to get your hands on some effects. After all, it's called After Effects, isn't it? So what we're going to do is have a look at how you can apply effects to layers and also create solids which can contain effects and are useful for creating things like backgrounds, for example. So we have here our little piece of footage, a looping piece of video of this guy spinning round, and we've put shapes and text on top of that. So the next thing we're going to do is, first of all, add an effect to the video layer to remove the green background. And that allows us to create transparency, and then we'll create a new solid and put an effect on that to create a background layer. So if you want to follow along, open up Effects and Solids, and you can find that in the Creating Compositions and Layers folder. So I'm going to stop playback, and we're going to go up to our workspace menu and choose Effects as our workspace. And that opens up the Effects and Presets panel, which is where I tend to look for effects. Now you can find effects up here in the Effect menu as well. With a layer selected, you can apply an effect from this menu. But I prefer to look in here because it's searchable. And the effect that I'm going to have a look for is a keying effect, and it's called Key Light. So I just want you to type in Key Light into here so you find your Key Light effect. And then in the timeline, scroll down and select this movie here, the Man on Green movie. Now to apply it, you can just double click it, or you can actually drag it onto the footage, either in the timeline or in the composition panel. Now you have to be careful in the comp panel not to drag it onto the wrong footage. So I tend to either drag it down here and let go, or with that layer selected, just double click it in the Effects and Presets panel. When you do, it will apply the effect. Now Key Light is a very powerful effect, and you'll see more about that later, but for now, all I want you to do is click on this eyedropper, and then click on the green colour somewhere close to his skin, and you'll see that it immediately removes the green. And if we click on this transparency grid button here, you'll notice you can see the transparent background behind him. And if you want to preview that, you can go over to the preview panel and click on the RAM preview button. Keyboard shortcut for that is 0 on the number pad. Okay, so there we have a transparent background. So we need to create a new background. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do that by creating what's called a new solid layer. So we go to Layer, New, Solid. Opens up the Solid Settings dialog box where we can name it if we want to. So let's call it Background. Okay, and we'll leave it the comp size. Click the comp size button just to make sure it's the right size and aspect ratio for your comp. And then we'll choose a colour. If you click on this swatch and just choose any old colour you want, I'm going to choose a kind of purple colour and click OK. So when you click OK, you'll see it creates a new solid and it will place it at the top of the timeline. So the first thing we need to do is just move that down the timeline all the way to the bottom so it's underneath the man. And then if you RAM preview again, you'll see we now have a purple background. Now that's fine if you just want to create a plain purple background, but a lot of the time I want to create some effects to make the background more interesting. So we're going to go back into Effects and Presets panel, and in here just remove the word Key Light. And if you scroll down, you'll see all the different categories of effect. I'm going to open up the Generate section, and in here there are good things for generating backgrounds. And you can scroll down and see there are various patterns and light effects that you can apply. But we're going to go all the way down. And of course, the one that I'm looking for isn't there. And this quite often happens with After Effects. You forget which category the effect is in. And in fact, when a new version comes out, quite often they put them in different categories. So I'm just going to type in the word Mercury to find the one that I'm looking for. And it was actually in the simulation category. And it's called CC Mr. Mercury. And that's a 32-bit effect that I can drag and drop onto my background layer. And it creates this lovely kind of lava kind of animation. Okay, and I'm just very quickly going to make a couple of changes to that. So let's take off the gravity, so we have no gravity. And you'll notice that now all the blobs move out in all directions. Okay, so it's like a liquid effect, which is really good for this energy drink. Now this effect is taking the colour from the background layer, which is a solid layer, and if we need to change that colour, we can select the layer and go up to Layer, Solid Settings, and the keyboard shortcut is Command-Shift-Y, Control-Shift-Y on Windows. And in here, we can actually change the colour of that, and you can see it update in the main window as I'm making changes. So we're going to choose a kind of orangey colour, something like that. I've got a value of 211, 101, 21 there for my colour. And I'm going to click OK and leave that dialog box. Now we may want to create a new background, so if we want to do that, we can go to Layer, New, Solid again, and that will create another new solid. And this time we're going to click on the colour swatch and choose a kind of bright green colour, something quite fresh and green that contrasts quite well with the orange. So we'll click on OK and OK again. And again, the only other thing to do is drag that down to the bottom, underneath the background layer. And now we have this nice fizzy, kind of liquidy background behind our little animated man. So that's a little bit about how you can create layers from nothing in After Effects using solids, using shapes, using text, and also applying effects to video. The only piece of footage that existed before I created this comp was the actual video of the man himself. All the other elements have been created directly within After Effects.